This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. This is for anyone who is an athlete, or maybe you're very active and you're very conscious of your performance. You could even be a marathon runner, but you want to make sure, you're at your peak. You want to up your game. You could be somebody who plays tennis and you don't want to get beaten anymore, whatever it might be. Somebody who's athletic and with an eye on and moving forward. We're going to increase your performance. And surprisingly, as we're going to learn today, that some of the things that you have suffered in your life thus far, and it could even be things that come from your childhood, and these are called traumas, and there are different types of traumas, I call them big T and little t traumas, that can impede your performance. There's something known as, and this is all new to me, performance neurotraining. We're going to learn about today with Dr. Paige Roberts on the program. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here learning. I love when I learn. I love when we can expose different things to an audience. And the trauma thing, talked about it for years, thousands of podcasts about trauma and how we suffer things, even as children from age 0 to 7. And it could be you got bullied on the playground. Just that, one episode could be a trauma that you're holding on to, or of course, a major situation, passing of a loved one, a parent, car accident. But, and I know that it can challenge us in life. Never thought about it when it comes to athletics. There's a connection. Tell us.
Well, so essentially with our nervous system, every time we endure trauma, mental or physical, we cannot discern between the two. We go into a shock. And so that shock actually makes our homeostasis reset to a more sympathetic or fight, flight, freeze nervous system state. And that's high beta brainwave. And so every time we endure one, we keep resetting our nervous system. And what begins to happen is we start to stay in a trauma response. So that's not sleeping well, that's freezing when we have to do a performance, whether it be a speaking performance or a sports performance. And then the dreaded yips that baseball players get where they just can't even throw the ball, they completely disconnect. So we call that disassociation kind of a frozen state. But with athletics, so all of those traumas at a certain point in time, they start to slow your reaction time. Because each time you get more in that fight, flight, freeze sympathetic dominance, you're not only producing cortisol, which is tearing down all your hard-earned muscles and so on, because it's a free radical, but it also tightens the dural motor sheath around the brain and the spine, and so you get a decrease in range of motion as well. So we can actually drop someone into the altered state by using sounds or the alpha brainwave, and go back through all the past traumas and fully process them to release the charge or the shock on the nervous system. And that's why we call it reprocessing and desensitization, so that the nervous system resets back to a calmer state or more of that parasympathetic or the rest and relaxation, and keep in that alpha flow state, because that's that no mind flow state that we talked about is the alpha brainwave. So we're training your nervous system to release and desensitize to the potential of getting injured again, or the potential of like losing or, any kind of embarrassing failures out there on the field. So yeah, we can actually do that.
Wow. I look at this as twofold. On one side, you have the performance aspect of it, where somebody is an athlete. Yeah, if you're going to do it, you want to do it right. You want to be on your game. You want to be on point. The other side of it, I'm thinking, and I want your feedback on this, that when you go through this type of therapy, if you will, that you're also going to maybe alleviate some of the other challenges you have, not necessarily performance related, but anxiety, depression, like you said, sleeping challenges. So it's kind of a twofold situation.
Yes. And the other aspect of it, when we start to think about when we're in a trauma response, that's what really drives addiction. and utilizing substances to relax after competitions. Because we really have like a culture in sports of, oh, work hard, play hard, right? So utilizing substances like marijuana and alcohol to numb the nervous system or calm the nervous system down. And it actually is, again, slowing the reaction time, particularly marijuana. And this isn't just hypothesis or even just watching athletes go from, the US ski team to getting an Olympic medal. I do QEEG brain scans that actually show regionally in the brain the reaction time is enhanced and we keep them in the alpha flow state. So this is really science. We scan your brain, do the 10 sessions, scan it again, and we see the results.
Wow. Performance neurotraining is what we're talking about. How would you compare this to other modalities to help people navigate through traumas?
Yeah, so there's three things that I utilize, and it's the altered state reprocessing. And so what I've done is I've combined brain spotting, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EFT tapping alpha imprinting, matrix re-imprinting essentially, and somatic experience, NLP, so neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy, and then the frequency medicine of the solfeggio frequencies, which we listen to those with headphones, and it drops us into the altered state. Then we also mess around with kinesiology and cover one eye or the other, because we can actually access different memories with one eye covered than the other. It always surprises the athletes. They're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about when my coach yelled at me when I was 6 years old on one eye compared to the other. And then we also have the athlete go through movements as if they're getting ready to pitch the ball. And then that allows for that body arousal aspect to be able to be processed out as well. So in sports psychology, we look at cognitive anxiety and body arousal. So that's the heart racing, the shaking, that's body arousal. And then we look at cognitive anxiety of just being worried about not doing well in the game. So we're able to work on both ends of it because both trigger the opposite. So the body arousal will start the cognitive anxiety. The cognitive anxiety will start the body arousal. So we're really calming the nervous system and keeping it in the alpha flow state. And so you're able to do this online. I've been doing it online for 10 years, working with athletes all across the world and even at the Olympic Games itself. So it's been a really great opportunity with being able to do the telehealth, but yeah, being able to have them have their own eye patch or beanie or whatever works, and then the sounds that I have them download. And really the sounds are also a tool because we're training the nervous system after every bad practice or something negative happening, throwing those sounds back on and teaching the nervous system not to stay stuck on, as we'd say when we talk about polyvagal theory, which is the theory of the nervous system resetting to this higher sympathetic, not healthy state. And then the other two components are the red light and near infrared light helmets that we put on the head. So that's a post-concussion recovery tool, as well as it enhances your gains if you put it on your spine and on your whatever area of your body that you worked out. And so those are in-home medical grade devices that you have, but you can really prevent the CTE or the accumulation of toxins and tau protein in the brain by utilizing that post-concussion. And then we also have the audiovisual entrainment. So it's flashy lights and sounds. And what that does is it stimulates your vagus nerve, which makes you more parasympathetic dominant as well. So really the goal is to always be more parasympathetic dominant, not sympathetic or fight, flight, freezy. And so, yeah, so those are two in-home devices that I highly recommend. And of course, if you're local in LA, I do the brain scans to show you the pre and the post of what we're actually doing.
This sounds like it's many different modalities all put together and best is one-stop shop. It's everything right there. And these are things that I've heard about separately along the way. And just I'm an info geek. I'm curious about everything, especially the way the mind works. It's all here, like red light therapy, sound therapy you mentioned before, like everything to help somebody be at their peak. Now, let's talk about the type of athlete that this could support. I mean, it could be at Olympic level, but could it be just somebody just training for triathlon, a marathon?
Absolutely. So I've worked with every type of athlete: fencer, archer, triathlete, downhill mountain biker, ski patrol, anybody that wants to have a enhanced reaction time, because that is safety, right? So if you're doing an extreme sport, if you are hesitating just a millisecond, you could get hurt. And so that's really significant when we're looking at our aerial sports. So like whether it be gymnastics or snowboard, half pipe, freestyle mogul skiing, we don't want any hesitation, and it's really subconscious. So when the body starts muscle guarding, when it senses, because we're sensory driven, so sight, sounds, and smells and touch, right? So if you had crashed one time, like I had an alpine skier that had crashed and gotten a concussion on a Northern American alpine course in Aspen, Colorado, and then the next year on that same course, she crashed on the same area and tore her ACL. So her body muscle guarded in seeing that same area and sensing it and going on that same turn. And so her body guarded, and just for a second, if you falter in your form, you can get hurt. So it's really an injury prevention thing, as well as just when it comes to being able to throw a baseball to second base. If someone's stealing base, you're that much faster. Same thing with batting, right? So if you're able to hit the ball that's a fastball that's coming in at certain miles per hour, you're good.
Can you blame that person that was skiing, right? That, she's coming around the same spot again. I'd be tensing up too. Oh, I got to be careful here. This is the, and it's almost as if ask for it, you get it, manifest it, it's showing up. What about traumas from our past, be it maybe even a childhood trauma? Is that also going to hold us back from our peak performance?
Absolutely. And the thing is we really don't make beta brainwave until we're like 7 to 12 years old. So what that means is we really can't make sense of things. So it's so important to go back to those early childhood memories and make sense of them and fully process them. Because little kids' nervous systems, they just freeze. They're kind of like a dog, for instance. They don't really process things. They just freeze and wait till the trauma's gone, and then they shake it off. So they release it instantly, that shock. So that's why a dog shakes. But we don't do that. We just stay frozen, and then we hold on to it in our fascia and just around that dural motor sheath of the brain, the spine, which controls that fascia and tightens it. So I did research with this. I met him in Brazil at an international conference in 2016. And so he was up in Seattle. So I went up there and we did research on this, and we found that an individual's range of motion would be decreased one way or the other. When he was moving their arms, moving their head, they would come into my office, we would process these things, he'd go back and he would do a very light adjustment. He was not much into the high velocity adjusting because it's a little traumatic on the nervous system. But then the work would stick, right? And then that range of motion would be increased again.
It's fascinating. And again, I've been doing podcasts on traumas, and it's very impactful. We all have them. Let's be honest. We all have some type of trauma, be it something from your childhood, something else. I'm not minimizing anything. It could be big, little. You could have a little trauma from your childhood, bullied on the playground. That could hold you back from many things in adult life. Never connected it to peak performance and for athletes. Paige, for you, how did this happen? Your journey to helping people with these modalities?
Just a lot of sports trauma myself, and then some head injuries. And I went on to study exercise science in my undergrad because of the physical challenges with overuse injuries and so on. I ran cross country in college, and I was an alpine skier. And then I started having issues with post-concussion syndrome. I couldn't sleep, and no one could figure it out. And so then I found brain spotting, which was the combo of somatic experience and EMDR. And so I've just added more on that to make the alpha imprinting. But it actually helped me. So it calmed down my nervous system post-concussion. So it really started with my own concussion journey 20 years ago and recovering from that. So then I got my MSW and became a clinical social worker like David Brand, the creator of brain spotting. And then I went on to study my doctorate in frequency medicine and really understanding the brainwave states, the QEEGs, the other frequency medicines, and just really understanding the supramental energy plane, which is our subconscious. And it dictates about 95% of our lives. And so if you think about when you're driving a car, it's all subconscious until you see a red light and then you hit the brakes. So we're really going throughout our lives very subconsciously. So we must drop into the subconscious, which is the alpha brainwave state, and reprocess and desensitize there so that our automatic programming is in flow state all the time.
And I've heard that many times before where you're just driving down the road. How did I even get here? Oh my
Yep.
gosh, I was driving, but I'm here already. But we're fully conscious, but it's our subconscious. Have you heard this number that about 90%, 93% of our daily life when we're awake
Mhm.
is our subconscious?
Yes. Yes.
It's doing everything.
And there can be even, it's about 95, and it's by the time we're about like 23, 25, because the brain stops developing at 25. So, and particularly girls develop a little quicker. So about 23, 25, we are already programmed. And so the only way to go back and reprogram ourselves is by dropping in and reprocessing things and having the quantum leap, as we say, the aha moment, right? So you're sitting there processing like, yeah, my coach said this, 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 this. Wow, no wonder it triggers me when my coach now is saying that. I had totally forgot about that memory. So that's the quantum leap. That's the waves of consciousness being collapsed. And so that trauma memory network is cleared. And so now you no longer are doing that fight, flight, freeze, or having that heart racing anytime your coach is talking to you, because we cleared what happened when you were a child where it was very scary.
When you work with people, do you have a lot of aha moments? I
Yes.
call it connecting the dots, where it's like, oh, that's why I do what I do now because
Yep.
of whatever.
Yep. That's the whole point, because it's really client directed. So hypnotherapy is clinician directed. So when you drop someone in, because we use the binaural frequencies at a bilateral rate, just like that, you know, the Newton's cradle, right? So that was the traditional with the hypnotherapy. But once you drop someone in, they're able to access their own information. So you really just start the process of going, okay, all the way back to 5 years old, what were the things that hurt your feelings? And once you open up those trauma memory networks, they're all linked up. And so there's a lot of science, and I actually do a 3-day training where I teach other clinicians this technique, but there's a lot of science that we know now that all of these memories are linked up, and that we really create memory only when it's a traumatic experience or a very positive experience. So when we're making cortisol, we have a stronger memory network around survival, right? Or the bad things, because we want to be predicting that they're going to happen again very subconsciously. So it's really interesting how the science is now showing us like, yeah, there is a trauma memory network. And the other interesting thing too with athletes is when they're pulling on cortisol or adrenaline to perform, it's going to activate that trauma memory network. Because anytime we're in that cortisol state, it activates the whole memory network, because subconsciously we're going, oh, is this happening again? Is this happening again? So it actually slows even more. So that's why athletes, when they sit there and go, well, he's practicing amazing, then I want that out there to perform, and I just couldn't do it. It's like, yeah, because you activated that network. So we must clear that network.
And what you're saying, it's the subconscious wants to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stupid. It doesn't really know, what it's doing. Is it always looking for evidence? Like, for example, let's say, we're just going on this one. You got bullied on the playground. You were 7 years old. Now, as life goes on, your subconscious is looking for evidence of you not being worthy enough. Maybe on the playground, they made fun of you, whatever it might be. Now, the next situation. And on the back end, your subconscious saying, oh, yeah, you weren't good enough. Yeah, you weren't good. See, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. Does it accumulate like snowfall? Well, you don't have snow in California. Do you, except in the mountains?
I'm from Colorado.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Do you feel it like adding up?
Yes.
Maybe not feel it, but it's happening.
So, and there's actually a scientific explanation. So the amygdala, which is our little alarm system that when something is a traumatic experience that we're picking up from our senses, it becomes stronger. More energy starts going to that amygdala. So the more trauma you've had and the more ramped up you are and hypervigilant you are, it's more prevalent. So it is constantly looking for the negative in life, right? And so then when we reprocess things, it actually strengthens the hippocampus. Well, the hippocampus is like this little projector in our brain that's replaying our current experience and organizing it. And so that area of the brain is kind of like a resourcing area of the brain. So we actually know with these types of therapies that the amygdala becomes less active and the hippocampus has more energy going to it when we look at brain scans. So we actually change your whole frame in life. So typically when I get an athlete, they are just like pretty down, right? They're going, this is never going to get better. I'm never going to be able to throw the ball again. I suck. I'm never going to get into college. I had this commitment and then I won't be able to graduate and get a job. I mean, it's kind of like this snowball effect of this worst case scenario. And then once we start going back through things and they regain their full motor control, then they become happier and just more at ease and more optimistic. It just naturally happens once you've reset the nervous system.
This is not talked about by professional athletes, but can you tell us on the back end, they're going through this kind of therapy?
Absolutely. And the thing, it's really just that the culture of sports still is that mental health, like something's wrong with you, or you're like a head case, or all of those things. So lots of athletes, even though they will have sports psychs on their teams and stuff, they don't want to go to them because they don't want the coach to know. And it's really unfortunate that we're still kind of in that space, but only 10%, I guess, of athletes that are struggling will actually seek help. And then 60% of athletes that are struggling do not seek help. And then 50% of people who complete suicide never sought help and no one ever knew that they were having issues. So it's super prevalent in high performers that they just don't really want to tell people what's going on. And a lot of it is just the resilience in general, because the resilience and the adversity gets you where you are. It gives you that grit. But we can deactivate all of those memories and then get you in that flow state. So you're actually happy and enjoying your life and not having to smoke weed every night to go to sleep after practice.
And why is that good? And I get it, but why is somebody doing that? Is it so they can relax because they've got, doing a practice or even a game, whatever, marathon, that they got so jacked up from it that they can't come down from it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's super common with your extreme sports because there's a lot of pain involved. And so the cortisol. So, people think it's when they're watching snowboard half pipe, they're just like, wow, they're just like flying in the air. It's like they can only do one or two of those tricks a day. It is so hard on their body. So to practice those tricks is very, very difficult. And people don't understand that every single time they're even hitting the ground, they're getting a little jostle of like almost a concussion. So a lot of times it is that your nervous system's just so high alert. And then every time you don't land a trick, I mean, people don't see them like practicing these things. It's going to be that concussion and it's going to be the whole body going into shock.
Wow. Learned so much today. I got to tell you. And yes, we the nervous system, the subconscious, everything going on there challenges the rest of us. But if you are an athlete or you're trying to up your game, even if you're a marathon runner, you do some triathlons, you do a couple a year, but you really want to attain a certain goal, maybe there's something holding you back. And it's you. Essentially, it's you. It's your subconscious.
And if you're hypervigilant and more cortisol, you're going to naturally get those overuse injuries or not recover from injury. So that's another component as well.
Yeah, didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Wow. And that fear of re-injury, we can get rid of all that. We desensitize you to it and you're back in the game.
And the majority of this can be done virtually?
Yes. Yes.
Super
I've mastered that, which was amazing because athletes travel all the time. It's inconvenient for them to have to come in and all that good stuff.
You are like an athlete's secret weapon.
Yeah.
You are.
It's funny. It's like I will have parents, especially because I've worked with skiers and snowboarders being from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and they'll be like, well, are you going to work with their competition? I'm just going to like, well,
whatever works. Do whatever, but I love the fact that you blend all these different modalities, even NLP. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's all there. Start the conversation, your website. How do we find you?
It's at www.robertsneurotraining.com. And I'm on all the socials at Sports Psych Paige. And yeah, just reach out if you want a 30-minute consultation and we can talk about what the plan would be. But typically it takes about 10 sessions to get someone's nervous system back on track. And that's what I've seen with the brain scans. And if you want your brain scanned and to be able to see the results, come visit me in Woodland Hills, California.
Final question. Let's just say this resonates with somebody and they feel comfortable with you. They're not an athlete, but they know that there are traumas holding them back. can they still work with you?
Absolutely. I've worked with a lot of very top performers in Meta, and I was up in Seattle for 7 years, and I was actually in the Facebook complex. So I have worked with a lot of very high performers in just bettering their lives and loving their lives again and sleeping well, because we need 9 hours to sleep a night. So if you're not sleeping 9 hours and you're not dreaming, we know you are not in flow state, and we know that you need a nervous system reset.
I'll call you after we're off. 9 hours. Oh my God.
Yeah. Sleep is magic.
No, you're talking to somebody that has done radio since he was a kid, literally, and has woken up at 3:54 a.m. for decades.
Ooh.
So sleep is sacred. 9 hours, that's getting that a challenge, but thank you for even that. It's almost like the universe is saying, we need to sleep more. She just said so. She's a doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you for today. All the insight. Looking forward if we ever get a chance to talk again, but very, very insightful, and I appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Super cool. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.